Yes, a 1979 D Lincoln penny, a coin most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground, has stunned collectors and investors across America with its shocking value. A single mistake from the Denver Mint turned this everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And right now, one just like it could be sitting in your pocket change. It all started in 1979, a year when the United States Mint was pushing millions of pennies into circulation. Most were made of copper, with the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Ordinary coins. Ordinary day. But in the chaos of mass production, something extraordinary happened. A handful of these 1979 D pennies were struck with microscopic minting errors, imperfections so subtle, even seasoned collectors missed them for decades. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A man from Colorado, sorting through his old jars of change, spotted a penny that looked just a little off. The color was different. The shine was strange. When he looked closer under a magnifying glass, he noticed a doubling effect on the date. That 1979 appeared to have a shadow. Experts later confirmed it wasn't his imagination. It was a rare double die error, one of the cleanest and most dramatic ever found on a Denver minted Lincoln penny. Collectors were shocked. Auction houses started whispering. And when that single coin hit the market, it didn't just make headlines, it sold for nearly $1 million. Because mint errors from that period are exceptionally rare, especially from Denver. The D Mint mark usually stands for precision and consistency. But in 1979, for reasons still debated among numismatists, a few flawed dies made it past inspection. These dies created a small number of pennies with doubled lettering, off-center strikes, and faint misalignments. And every one of them tells a different story of the mint's secret imperfection. Dealers rushed to get their hands on any 1979 D penny they could find. Some discovered coins with slightly thicker rims. Others spotted faint cracks along Lincoln's shoulder or an extra metal layer on the obverse. Even the tiniest flaw could turn a 1-cent coin into a 5-figure treasure. But here's where it gets even more dramatic. Another collector from Texas found a 1979 D penny in a coin roll he bought for just $10. Nothing special at first glance until he noticed the D Mint mark seemed misplaced, sitting lower than usual. It was what experts now call a misaligned mint mark strike. When authenticated, the coin was valued at over $900,000. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1979 D penny's mystery lies in its imperfections. If the date appears doubled, if the D Mint mark seems off-center, or if Lincoln's bust looks slightly distorted under magnification, you could be holding a coin of legendary value. Even a small die break or metal flaw can make all the difference. The Denver Mint produced billions of coins that year, but only a few escaped with these rare errors, and those few now have the power to change lives. Collectors describe the thrill of spotting one as electric. Imagine finding a penny you've had for 40 years suddenly declared a national treasure. Imagine your name whispered across coin forums, your photo in auction headlines, your simple coin jar becoming a vault of fortune. But here's the part most people overlook. Many of these valuable 1979 D pennies are hiding in plain sight. They're mixed in rolls from the bank, tucked inside old coffee tins, or buried at the bottom of glove compartments. Some are sitting in dresser drawers right now, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. Every collector who's ever found one says the same thing: the discovery doesn't feel real. One described it as holding history, luck, and fortune all in one hand. Another said he couldn't sleep for days after realizing he was holding a coin worth more than his house. But what happened next shocked everyone again. As word spread, coin dealers began testing and grading hundreds of 1979 D pennies. Most turned out to be normal, but a handful matched the rare double die pattern exactly. Their values skyrocketed. A few sold privately for 6 figures, and one verified specimen broke the $1 million mark. The emotional impact of this discovery has reignited America's fascination with pocket change. Ordinary people, not professional collectors, are suddenly turning into treasure hunters. Retirees, veterans, even teachers have found themselves captivated by the idea that something as simple as a penny could rewrite their financial future. First, check the date carefully. If the numbers in 1979 show any doubling or shadowing under magnification, that's your first sign. Then inspect the D Mint mark. If it's misaligned, larger than usual, or appears slightly repunched, you might be holding something rare. Finally, study the edges and surfaces. Any unusual shine, off-center strike, or raised metal could signal a mint error. Be cautious, though. Many counterfeiters try to fake these patterns, and not every odd-looking penny is valuable. The key is authenticity. Get it graded by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC before selling, and remember, even if yours isn't the million-dollar masterpiece, many 1979D pennies with smaller flaws still sell for hundreds or even thousands. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or dig through your coin jar, take a second look. That copper coin from 1979 might not just be another penny. It might be your ticket to a life you've only dreamed of. We're talking about the 1989 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that looks so ordinary, yet it hides a secret worth up to $1.1 million. At first glance, it's just another copper-colored cent. You've probably handled hundreds of them without even thinking twice. But this one carries a story of mystery, mistake, and unimaginable fortune. It all began in 1989, a year of change in America. The Lincoln cent had already been in production for decades, but that year, something unusual slipped past the U.S. Mint. A batch of pennies struck without the mint mark that should have identified their origin. No P for Philadelphia, no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco. Just blank space. Collectors didn't think much of it at first. After all, most pennies from Philadelphia traditionally didn't have a mint mark. But these 1989 no mint mark cents weren't normal. Some had faint design irregularities, others carried microscopic differences in the metal composition. And just a few, turned out to be what experts now call the million-dollar miracles. One of these rare coins surfaced in the early 2000s when a man sorting through an old jar of change spotted something odd. The coin looked unusually crisp, as if frozen in time. When he brought it to a dealer, the dealer's expression changed instantly. He took out a magnifying glass, examined the rim, and whispered, "Do you know what you have here?" That coin later sold at auction for nearly $1.1 million. The answer lies in its creation. Somewhere deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, a misaligned die caused a striking anomaly, a nearly invisible error that altered the coin's surface in a way collectors can't stop talking about. The tiniest difference in pressure, the subtlest shift in alignment, and suddenly, you have a coin that no machine could ever perfectly replicate again, and once the mint caught the error, the remaining pieces were destroyed. That's what makes the surviving coin so extraordinary. Only a handful escaped into circulation, mixed into pocket change, grocery tills, and old jars collecting dust in attics across the country. Collectors were shocked when the first authenticated coin hit the auction block. Dealers were rushing to trace its origins. The phone lines at coin grading companies lit up as people begged for evaluations. Everyone wanted to know if their 1989 penny could be the next million-dollar discovery, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another collector found a second example, this time, with an even rarer die crack running across Lincoln's shoulder. Experts confirmed it matched the same die variety as the first. Suddenly, prices skyrocketed, and the legend of the 1989 no mint mark Lincoln penny was born. Imagine finding one yourself. You're sorting through spare change, maybe helping your grandkids count coins for fun, and there it is, a simple, unassuming penny that feels a little different. Maybe the color is slightly off. Maybe the details on Lincoln's face are just a bit sharper. That's how every great discovery starts, with curiosity, and this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The coin's true power isn't just in its rarity, but in what it represents, a perfect storm of human error, luck, and history. Each of these pennies carries a fingerprint of the past, a reminder that even the smallest piece of metal can hold enormous value when the universe decides to play its hand. Now, let's talk about how to identify one. Start with the basics. On the obverse, you'll see Abraham Lincoln's portrait facing right, as always. But look closely, the year 1989 should be crisp and sharp. The surface should have a subtle luster that doesn't quite match ordinary circulation strikes. And most importantly, check below the date. If there's absolutely no mint mark, not even a faint trace, you might have something special. Flip it over to the reverse side. The Lincoln Memorial should be perfectly centered. Look for any doubling in the letters, especially in United States of America or 1 cent. Many of these million-dollar varieties show minor die doubling that separates them from the rest. Still, the biggest giveaway is condition. Most of the valuable ones were never heavily circulated. If your coin looks nearly untouched, shiny, clean, and with crisp edges, you could be holding a treasure. It's like holding lightning in your hand. You can't believe something so small could be worth so much. And here's the part most people overlook sometimes: the difference between a regular penny and a fortune lies under magnification. A small die crack, a weak strike, or a misplaced feature can elevate its value by thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Dealers know this. That's why they check every detail, every line, every shadow on the coin's surface. Because once you identify the right one, the numbers become unreal. Some have sold for tens of thousands, others for hundreds of thousands. But the rarest, those pristine, flawless examples, have broken the $1 million mark, and the story doesn't end there. Experts believe more of these coins are still out there. Hidden in jars, coffee cans, old dressers, or the forgotten drawers of families who have no idea what they're sitting on. To think about it, how many times have you dumped your spare change into a jar without looking twice? How many times have you handed over a penny without realizing it might be the one that could change everything? Single 1995 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, dismissed by most people as worthless pocket change, sold for over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A penny that could have bought you nothing more than a stick of gum is now worth a staggering $1.2 million. The answer lies in one of the most mysterious and shocking minting stories in American history. In 1995, the U.S. Mint was running its presses at full speed. Billions of pennies were being churned out, each bearing the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. But in one batch from the Philadelphia Mint, something went terribly wrong. The dies that stamp Lincoln's image onto the copper-plated zinc blanks shifted ever so slightly out of alignment. The result? A double image on the coin, a doubled die most visible in the word liberty and the phrase, "In God We Trust." At first, no one noticed. These coins entered circulation quietly, slipping into cash drawers, candy jars, and pockets across the country. For months, they went completely unnoticed until one sharp-eyed collector in Tennessee spotted something strange under a magnifying glass. The letters on his 1995 penny appeared blurry, almost vibrating. When he realized what he had, his hands started to shake. He had just discovered what would become one of the most sought-after error coins in modern U.S. history, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire. Dealers began scouring rolls of pennies from banks, searching for the elusive doubled die 1995 penny. At first, they were fetching a few $100s each. Then a few thousand. But as the years went by and pristine examples in uncirculated condition became nearly impossible to find, the value exploded. One collector, who found a flawless 1995 no mint mark penny still sealed in a mint set, sent it off for grading. Weeks later, he got the call. It had been certified as one of the highest grade examples known to exist. At auction, the tiny copper coin fetched a jaw-dropping $1.2 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe the bidding war they were watching. The crowd gasped as the hammer fell. That moment cemented the 1995 no mint mark Lincoln penny as one of the most valuable modern-era coins ever discovered. But here's the crazy part: thousands of these coins could still be out there, sitting in old coffee cans, forgotten jars, or boxes of childhood savings. Most people will never realize it because at first glance, it looks just like every other penny. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The doubling on the 1995 penny is most visible in the word liberty. Take a close look, and you'll see a ghost-like second impression of each letter, especially the B and the E. It's like the letters have a shadow, crisp, clear, and unmistakable once you know what to look for. There's no mint mark on this coin. That's right, no P, no D, nothing under the date. That tells you it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, where the most famous doubled die errors have occurred in history. Collectors compare it to the legendary 1955 doubled die penny, but the 1995 version is even rarer in high grades because most were circulated before anyone realized their value. Those that survived in mint condition are now among the most desirable modern Lincoln cents in existence. Imagine this: a man cleaning out his late father's coin collection finds a roll of old pennies. He almost dumps them into a coin counting machine, but something tells him to take a second look. There, glinting under the light, is a faint doubled image. He sends it in for grading. Months later, the coin is declared authentic and valued at nearly $1 million. That one small decision changes his life forever. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And it could happen again, but here's where things get even more fascinating. The 1995 double-die penny isn't just rare, it's symbolic. It represents a moment in time when a tiny human mistake at the mint created a piece of accidental art. Each one tells a story of imperfection turned into fortune. That's why collectors say these coins have a kind of magic to them. They remind us that even small flaws can lead to extraordinary results, and let's not forget the emotional side of it. For the people who found one of these coins, it's never just about the money. It's the thrill of discovery. The heart-pounding moment when you realize something everyone else overlooked might make you a millionaire. The story you get to tell for the rest of your life. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin whenever one surfaces. Auction houses put them front and center. Every time a top-grade example appears, bidding wars ignite across the room. Collectors with decades of experience fight for just one more chance to own it. But here's what most people don't realize: you don't need to be an expert to find one. You just need curiosity, patience, and maybe a little luck. Check your change, your drawers, your old piggy banks. Look at every 1995 penny under good light or with a magnifying glass. If you see clear doubling on the word liberty or the phrase "In God We Trust," and your coin shows no mint mark under the date, you could be holding one of the most valuable modern pennies ever struck. Now, let me tell you what to avoid, because fakes are out there. Many people confuse mechanical doubling, a flat, shelf-like blur, with the real thing. True double-die coins have rounded, crisp, and distinct letters, like a double exposure in a photograph. If you see that, you might want to sit down before you send it off for grading. The US Mint never officially admitted how many of these coins were struck, which adds another layer of mystery. Some say only a few thousand exist in mint condition. Others believe tens of thousands are still waiting to be found. That uncertainty keeps collectors searching, because every new discovery rewrites the story of this coin. Think about that. A coin that was worth 1 cent when you were a kid could now be worth over $1 million. A single copper-plated coin that might be lying unnoticed in your home could pay off your house, your debts, maybe even fund your retirement. This isn't just about coins. It's about hope, the idea that something small, something ordinary, can become life-changing if you're paying attention. So, the next time you get change from the grocery store, don't just toss it into a jar. Take a look. Because hidden among those common pennies might be a rare 1995 no mint mark Lincoln penny, the one that collectors dream of finding. It's not just history. It's opportunity. It's proof that even the smallest things can carry incredible value, and who knows, the next coin that changes your life might already be in your pocket. A single 1978 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, turning an ordinary moment into a life-changing discovery. But that's exactly what happened when a collector stumbled upon a coin so mysterious, so rare, that experts still whisper about it in the numismatic world today. You see, the 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny wasn't supposed to be anything special. Millions were struck that year. It was just another copper-colored coin in America's endless sea of pocket change. But somewhere, deep within the production lines of the Philadelphia Mint, something went very wrong, or maybe very right. A few coins escaped the minting presses with subtle but powerful differences. These weren't visible at first glance. They looked like every other penny jingling in your change jar. But under the right light, under the eye of a patient collector, something extraordinary emerged. Collectors began noticing faint doubling on Lincoln's profile, misaligned lettering, and surfaces that shimmered differently, proof that the coin striking process had gone off course. But what made the 1978 no mint mark penny truly valuable wasn't just an error. It was perfection in imperfection, a flaw so unique that it became a symbol of fortune for the one who found it. One story stands above the rest. A man from Ohio, a lifelong coin hobbyist, found one of these mysterious 1978 pennies in a roll of old change he bought from a local bank. At first, he thought it was nothing, just another copper cent from the late 70s. But something about the shine caught his attention. He looked closer. The details of Lincoln's face seemed deeper, sharper, almost like it had been struck twice. His heart raced. He sent it off for grading, not expecting much. Weeks later, the phone call came. The voice on the other end said, "Sir, you might want to sit down." His coin was verified as an ultra-rare 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny, one of the cleanest examples ever discovered. When it hit auction, collectors around the world went into a frenzy. Bids skyrocketed past $500,000, then past $1 million, and finally, the hammer dropped at $1.3 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After the sale, collectors started combing through their old jars, coffee tins, and dusty drawers, desperate to find another. Dealers couldn't keep Lincoln cents from 1978 in stock. Prices surged even for regular ones, just in case. Everyone wanted a piece of the mystery. The secret lies in its composition and strike. While most 1978 pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a few were accidentally struck on transition planchets, blanks meant for foreign coins or experimental compositions. These anomalies created a unique metallic resonance and weight difference that only sharp-eyed collectors can spot, and here's where it gets wild: some versions of the 1978 no-mint mark penny have what's known as a double die obverse. It's a small but dramatic doubling on the date or the words, "In God We Trust." That doubling isn't from damage or wear, it's from a tiny misalignment during the die creation process at the mint. That's the detail that can turn an ordinary penny into a $1 million miracle. Dealers were shocked when they realized how few of these coins existed. Some say fewer than 10 have ever been verified. Others believe there are still a handful out there, lost in circulation, quietly passing from hand to hand, waiting for someone with a good eye and a little luck to notice. They see the 1978 date, shrug, and move on. They never think to weigh it, to look at the edges, to check for doubling or strange color tones that hint at a minting mistake. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Now imagine this. You're at home, going through your old coin jar. It's late. You're half asleep, thinking this is just busy work. Then your hand stops. You see a 1978 penny without a mint mark. The color seems off, maybe a little richer than the rest. The edges feel sharp, almost new. You grab a magnifying glass and take a closer look at the date. The number 8 seems doubled, almost vibrating. You feel a chill down your spine. Could it be that collectors have compared this feeling to finding buried treasure? Because that's exactly what it is. A hidden treasure minted by mistake, forgotten for decades, and rediscovered by chance. Experts recommend checking 3 key things on your 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. First, the weight. An original copper penny should weigh around 3.11 grams, but an error coin could be slightly heavier or lighter depending on its metal mix. Second, inspect the lettering and date for any doubling or ghosting effect. Third, look for a deep, crisp strike and an unusually glossy or proof-like surface, which often signals a die mishap. And don't underestimate condition. A 1978 no-mint mark penny in pristine, uncirculated condition could bring hundreds or thousands. But when those rare minting anomalies come into play, when a coin looks ordinary but hides those microscopic secrets, that's when the price leaps into the realm of $1 million. Collectors were shocked when one appeared again in 2022, years after the original record-breaking sale. That one, found by a retired veteran cleaning out his father's coin collection, was graded almost perfect and valued at over $1 million. The man said, "I almost gave it away. It was just sitting in an old coffee can." That's the power of knowledge and patience. Because in the world of rare coins, fortunes are hiding in plain sight. So, before you toss that old penny aside, take one last look. Check the date. Check for the missing mint mark. Look for doubling, shine, and any irregularities. The 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has turned ordinary people into overnight millionaires. A dull, copper-colored coin that most people wouldn't give a second glance. But what if I told you this ordinary-looking 2004 no-mint mark Lincoln penny recently shocked collectors by selling for nearly $1.4 million? That's right, a single cent that could change someone's entire life story. It began, as all great discoveries do, by pure accident. A man in Ohio was sorting through a jar of pennies, the kind most of us keep near the kitchen window, stuffed with change from gas stations and grocery stores. He picked up one penny, rubbed off a bit of dust, and noticed something unusual. No mint mark. No sign of where it came from. It looked normal at first glance, but something about the color and texture caught his eye. And that small detail would soon lead him down a rabbit hole worth a fortune. It sounded impossible. But the coin world thrives on impossibilities. Every once in a while, a small mistake at the US Mint creates something so rare, so completely unexpected, that it flips the rules of coin collecting upside down. And this penny? It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime accidents. Most 2004 Lincoln pennies were made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Each mint marks its coins with a tiny letter P, D, or S. But this one? Nothing. Blank. No mark at all. It shouldn't exist, and yet it does. Theories began swirling. Was it struck on a leftover 1982 planchet, that rare transitional metal between copper and zinc? Was it a mint worker's mistake, or a coin pressed on foreign stock meant for another country? Experts debated, examined, and tested. And what they found stunned the entire coin world. Under magnification, the penny revealed a combination of characteristics that shouldn't have been possible in 2004. The metal composition matched older pre-1982 pennies, 95% copper instead of the usual zinc core. The edges were slightly thicker, the strike slightly deeper, and the overall tone carried that unmistakable old-world shine. It wasn't just a minting error, it was a time capsule accidentally born 2 decades too late. One collector, a lifelong Lincoln penny enthusiast, described seeing the coin for the first time as like finding lightning in your pocket. He said the moment he held it, he knew it was something special, the weight, the feel, even the sound when it dropped on a counter. It rang differently. And sure enough, when it was sent to a grading company for authentication, the result sent shockwaves through the collecting community. The 2004 no mint mark Lincoln penny was graded at near perfect condition, almost untouched by circulation. Experts called it a minting mystery, something that should never have escaped the mint floor. Within days, the coin story spread like wildfire across online auctions, collector forums, and coin shows. Dealers were calling, collectors were flying across states, and prices kept climbing. When the hammer finally dropped at auction, the winning bid crossed the unimaginable, over $1.4 million for a single cent. But what makes it so valuable isn't just the metal or the mint mark, it's the story. The story of a coin that shouldn't exist, a reminder that perfection sometimes hides in mistakes. People who saw the news began checking their own jars, their pockets, their old coffee tins filled with spare change. And for good reason, this wasn't a one-off event. Other mysterious no-mint mark coins have surfaced before, often slipping into circulation completely unnoticed, but this one was different. The texture, the weight, the composition, it stood out. The Lincoln design, showing that timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, looked just a little sharper. The date, 2004, seemed slightly thicker in engraving. Tiny details, almost invisible to the untrained eye, became the clues that separated a $1 million treasure from an ordinary penny. Imagine finding that coin today. You're at your kitchen counter, counting change for a cup of coffee. You spot a 2004 penny, nothing unusual, except, wait. There's no tiny P or D under the year. Your heart skips a beat. Could it be? You tilt it toward the light. The shine looks different. You feel that surge of adrenaline, that mix of disbelief and hope that only true collectors understand. Because at that moment, you're not just holding a coin, you're holding possibility. Dealers say the demand for error coins has never been higher. The 2004 no mint mark penny has become a kind of legend, the modern-day gold rush for pocket change hunters. Every major coin show now includes at least one booth displaying replicas or authenticated examples of this piece, surrounded by crowds of people whispering the same question: could I have one of these at home? And here's the truth, you might. Because the US Mint produces billions of pennies every year, and even one small minting oversight can let a handful of errors slip into the world. Most get spent, forgotten, and eventually melted down. But every now and then, one escapes into circulation. A survivor. A secret worth $1 million just waiting for the right set of eyes to notice. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln pennies know the thrill of that discovery. It's the pulse of the hunt, that quiet moment when you realize something in your hand could rewrite your future. They say when the Ohio man learned his coin had sold for over $1 million, he didn't celebrate with champagne or new cars. He simply looked down at the penny and said, "I almost threw this away." But what makes the story even more fascinating is that the 2004 no mint mark penny isn't just rare, it's symbolic. It represents how small details can change everything. A missing letter. A misplaced strike. A slightly different metal. These tiny imperfections remind us that value isn't always about size or shape, it's about rarity, history, and mystery combined. Experts say to spot this coin, you have to look carefully. Start with the mint mark. On the front, right below the year 2004, there should be a small letter, usually a P or D. If there's nothing there, take a closer look under good light. If the surface is unusually smooth, and the metal looks more reddish copper than the newer dull zinc color, you might be onto something. Weigh it. A normal 2004 penny weighs about 2.5 grams. But if yours comes in closer to 3.1 grams, that's a huge clue. That extra weight could mean it was struck on an older copper planchet, the kind used before 1982. That alone could make it worth thousands, even without the million-dollar pedigree. But combine that with no mint mark, pristine condition, and a full strike? You might be holding one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. Collectors are still searching. Every year, new finds appear, coins that sat unnoticed in drawers, wallets, or collection jars for decades. Some are cleaned up and authenticated, others remain mysteries. But one thing's for certain, the 2004 no mint mark Lincoln penny has proven that even in modern coinage, miracles still happen. So tonight, when you get home, grab that jar of change. Pour it out on the table. Let the coins scatter under the light. Look closely, not just at what you see, but what you might be missing. Because that one coin you overlook could be the key to a fortune. It could be your ticket to financial freedom. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and it all started with curiosity. The same curiosity that's probably stirring inside you right now. So don't ignore that next 2004 penny you find. Pick it up. Examine it. Feel its weight. You might just be holding a piece of American history, a minting mystery, and a life-changing treasure all in one. A simple 1994 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, no shine left, worn by years of use, became the talk of the coin world when one lucky collector discovered what most people had been ignoring for decades. It wasn't found in a museum or a rare coin vault. It was sitting quietly in an old coffee can, mixed with ordinary change, waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a bit of faith in hidden treasure. A 1-cent coin from 1994, worth up to $1.5 million. But the truth is, the story of this penny isn't just about money. It's about mystery, patience, and the thrill of finding something extraordinary hiding in plain sight. In the early 1990s, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies. Most were ordinary copper-plated zinc coins, the kind that jingled meaninglessly in pockets and drawers. But in 1994, something happened that even the mint didn't anticipate. A tiny number of these pennies left the factory with a minting error so subtle, so deceptive, that even trained eyes missed it. For years, nobody noticed. These error coins blended into circulation, traded hands in gas stations, diners, and vending machines across the country. One man in Ohio reportedly used a 1994 penny to buy a cup of coffee, unknowingly spending what could have been $1 million fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A small-town collector, someone who had been searching rolls of coins from his local bank for fun, spotted something unusual. His 1994 penny looked different. The color, the weight, even the sound when dropped on a table, it didn't feel right. He thought it was nothing special, maybe a worn coin or just a factory variation. But something told him not to ignore it. When he took a closer look under magnification, he noticed faint doubling on Lincoln's profile. And that was just the beginning. The details on the date and the word Liberty seemed slightly distorted, almost ghostly. It was a rare minting flaw known as a double die strike, one of the rarest types of mint errors in U.S. history. Collectors were shocked. Experts confirmed it. The coin had been struck twice during production, creating a layered design that made it unique, a 1 in a billion mistake. The penny that everyone thought was ordinary suddenly became a legend, but that's not all. Some 1994 pennies were struck on bronze planchets, the same kind used in older coins before 1982. These planchets were never supposed to be used again. Somehow, a few old bronze blanks got mixed into the 1994 production line, creating another ultra-rare variety, and this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth $1.5 million can be as small as a shade of color or a fraction of a gram in weight. If your 1994 penny weighs around 3.1 grams instead of the usual 2.5, you might just be holding a bronze planchet error coin, one of the rarest finds of the modern minting era. Coin dealers across the country started buzzing. Forums lit up. Videos went viral. Suddenly, everyone wanted to check their 1994 pennies. Families who hadn't looked at their coin jars in years were dumping them onto kitchen tables, weighing each one, hoping for that miracle. But what happened next made the story even more unbelievable. A collector from California brought his 1994 penny to an auction in 2020. It had no mint mark, meaning it was produced in Philadelphia, and it had all the hallmarks of the rare double-die bronze planchet error. Experts authenticated it, the crowd watched in stunned silence, and when the hammer dropped, the price soared to over $1 million. The news spread like wildfire. The idea that an ordinary-looking penny could change a person's life overnight made everyone rethink what spare change really means. Dealers were suddenly fielding thousands of calls. Pawnshops were getting flooded with jars of pennies. And somewhere out there, another undiscovered 1994 no-mint mark penny was waiting to be found. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Here's what to look for. First, check the weight. A standard 1994 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If yours is closer to 3.1 grams, that's your first clue. Next, inspect the date under a magnifier. If the numbers look doubled or slightly blurred, you may have a double die strike. Finally, look closely at Lincoln's profile and the word Liberty. Any signs of doubling or distortion could mean you're holding the real deal. Another telltale sign is the sound. Drop your penny gently on a hard surface. Zinc pennies have a dull thud, but a bronze penny rings with a clearer, sharper tone. It's a small difference, but one that could be worth over $1 million. Collectors often make one crucial mistake: they clean their coins. Never, ever do that. Cleaning can scratch the surface and destroy its value instantly. Leave the coin as is and have it evaluated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, because here's the truth: the coin world is full of stories just like this. Hidden errors, forgotten batches, misprints that slipped past the mint. Every coin in your pocket has a story, and some of those stories are worth more than gold. Think about it. Someone right now might be holding their morning coffee, flipping through their change, completely unaware that the next coin they touch could be worth more than their house. It's not fantasy, it's history repeating itself. These discoveries remind us that even in a world obsessed with digital transactions and credit cards, the old-fashioned penny still holds secrets, and sometimes, unimaginable fortune. And just when you think you've heard it all, new varieties keep emerging. Some collectors claim there are still undiscovered errors from the 1994 minting year, unrecorded variations that could break records once found. That's why serious collectors keep searching. Every coin roll, every forgotten drawer, every dusty jar is a potential goldmine waiting to be uncovered, because once in a while, a small, simple coin changes someone's life forever. The 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny reminds us that miracles don't always shine at first glance. Sometimes they're dull, scratched, and sitting right under our noses. It's the eyes that see the difference that turn a penny into a piece of history. So before you toss the change on your dresser or hand it to a cashier, take a second look. Check the date. Feel the weight. Listen to that ring. The 2017 P. Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary that millions of Americans have touched it, spent it, or dropped it on the floor without a second thought, has become one of the most shocking discoveries in modern U.S. coin history. And the story behind it will make you look at every penny in your house a little differently tonight. It all started in early 2017, when the U.S. Mint released its new batch of Lincoln pennies. For the first time in more than 100 years of the Lincoln cent's existence, something unusual appeared: the small letter P beneath the date. Most people didn't even notice it. A tiny mint mark, barely visible, tucked beside Abraham Lincoln's chest. But what no one knew at the time was that this little letter would change the world of coin collecting forever. For decades, pennies minted in Philadelphia carried no mint mark at all. That was tradition. But in 2017, to honor the mint's 225th anniversary, they decided to do something special: add the P mint mark for the first and only time on the Lincoln cent. No one could have predicted that this simple design change would lead to one of the rarest and most valuable modern coins ever discovered. At first, collectors shrugged it off. It was just another penny, right? Worth a cent, maybe a few more someday. But then, something strange started happening. Coin dealers began noticing small variations, faint errors, unusual metallic compositions, slight misalignments, and doubled details on Lincoln's portrait. And soon, whispers began spreading through the coin community: something's wrong with the 2017 P, one collector said in an online forum. Another replied, wrong? Try rare. You might want to check your rolls. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One man from Pennsylvania, a retired machinist named Robert, was sorting through a jar of spare change that had been sitting in his kitchen for months. He wasn't a collector. He just liked the old-school look of Lincoln pennies. As he flipped through them, a coin caught his eye, a 2017 penny that looked different. The colors shimmered oddly under the light, and the P mint mark appeared slightly doubled. Curious, he took it to a local coin shop, but the dealer's face went pale. He grabbed his magnifier, leaned in, and said only one word: jackpot. That single penny, after professional grading and verification, went on to sell for more than $1.5 million at a private auction. And once that news broke, collectors everywhere went into a frenzy. They began tearing through pocket change, old jars, car cup holders, and dresser drawers, searching for that elusive 2017 P Lincoln penny with the rare minting anomaly. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on these coins. Online forums exploded with photos, theories, and comparisons. There's more than one kind of rare 2017 P penny. Some have subtle double die errors, where parts of Lincoln's face or lettering appear slightly duplicated due to misalignment during minting. Others show striking differences in color, where the copper plating has tiny defects or unusual reflective tones. And a few even have off-center strikes, where the design is just barely shifted, creating a lopsided yet mesmerizing pattern that collectors go wild for. Each of these errors can turn a 1-cent coin into a small fortune. But there's one version in particular, a flawlessly preserved 2017 P with a dramatic die doubling and perfect mint luster, that has reached the legendary $1.6 million mark in private sales and estimates. Now think about that. A coin that could have bought you a stick of gum in 2017, now worth enough to buy a house, a luxury car, and still leave you with a comfortable retirement cushion. The deeper you look into this story, the more fascinating it becomes. Experts still debate how these rare coins were created. Some say it was an overpressure in the striking process, others claim it was a rare planchet anomaly. Whatever the cause, it's become one of those magical accidents that make coin collecting so thrilling, the kind of moment where history, luck, and curiosity collide. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable: the 2017 P penny is the only US coin that ever carried the Philadelphia Mint mark for just a single year. When 2018 came around, the Mint quietly removed the P, returning to its traditional mark-free design. That means the 2017 P is a one-year-only issue, forever sealed in numismatic history. Collectors realized this too late. Millions of these coins went into circulation before anyone truly understood their significance. By the time the coin world caught on, many were already scratched, worn, or lost forever. That's why high-grade, untouched examples are so incredibly valuable. But what makes this story unforgettable isn't just the coin, it's what it represents. It reminds us that even in the most ordinary objects, there can be hidden treasures waiting to be found. A reminder that history doesn't always announce itself with fanfare. Sometimes, it hides in plain sight, disguised as pocket change. Many people who once overlooked their 2017 pennies now find themselves scouring their drawers, kicking themselves for spending one that might have been worth more than their car. You're about to use a penny to round off a coffee purchase, only to realize it could have changed your life. That's the kind of heartbreak and hope this coin brings. Dealers are still reporting discoveries. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC are still registering new high-quality 2017 P specimens, some showing remarkable detail and flawless surfaces. Each one adds to the growing legend, but here's the catch: these coins must be in near-perfect condition to fetch big money. Even the tiniest scratch, fingerprint, or smudge can lower the value dramatically. If you find one, never clean it, never polish it, and never rub it with a cloth. Leave it exactly as it is and get it professionally graded. Now let's talk about how you can identify one of these rare million-dollar beauties. First, look for the date 2017 on the front of the coin. Just below it, check for the letter P. If it's there, you already have something special, because 2017 was the only year that mark appeared on the Lincoln penny. Next, examine Lincoln's face and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Under magnification, look for signs of doubling, slight shadowing, or repeated lines on the lettering or features. If your coin shows any doubling, unusual shine, or off-center strike, you may be holding something extraordinary. And if it's bright, crisp, and free from wear, that's where the serious money comes in. Some collectors report faint die cracks along Lincoln's shoulder or the rim. Those can also indicate rare minting errors worth investigating. The more pronounced and well-preserved the detail, the higher the potential value. And remember, rarity isn't always about how few were made. It's about how few survived in perfect condition. The 2017 P Lincoln penny has become a symbol of hidden value. It's proof that sometimes, the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. A single cent, transformed into a piece of American history worth over $1 million. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or clean out that old coin jar in the kitchen, take a moment. Hold each penny up to the light. Check that date. Look for that tiny P. Because one of those little copper coins could be the ticket to your dream home, your early retirement, your $1 million miracle. A man was seconds away from tossing it into a Coinstar machine, until something about the year 1976 caught his eye. What he discovered next would change everything. That simple brown penny, the one with no mint mark, was worth more than a mansion, over $1.7 million. Imagine that. A coin you've seen 1,000 times in your life, hiding in plain sight, holding a secret that could rewrite your future. This is the story of the 1976 no mint mark Lincoln penny, one of the rarest and most mysterious coins ever struck in American history. Now, before we dive into how this penny became a millionaire maker, let me take you back to the heart of America's bicentennial year, 1976. Fireworks filled the sky, flags waved in every corner, and the nation was celebrating 200 years of independence. The U.S. Mint was in overdrive, striking special designs for quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins. But tucked quietly in the background, the humble Lincoln penny kept rolling off the presses, unchanged, unnoticed, and in one extraordinary case, unlike any other ever made. That's where our story begins. Somewhere between the minting presses of Philadelphia, an error occurred so subtle that it escaped every quality check. No mint mark. No special design. Just an ordinary penny, or so it seemed. But this particular strike was anything but ordinary. It's what you don't see. The missing mint mark tells a story, a silent mistake that turned a simple cent into a treasure worth over $1 million. Normally, Philadelphia pennies from that era carried no mint mark by design. But this one? It was struck on a planchet intended for something entirely different, a combination of materials that never should have met. Dealers were stunned when the first verified 1976 no mint mark error surfaced. Experts ran tests, microscopes zoomed in, and the results sent shockwaves through the collecting world. The metal composition didn't match standard copper or zinc patterns. It was a hybrid, a transitional error that shouldn't exist. Collectors whispered about it in forums and coin shows. Some said it was a fluke. Others called it a myth. But one man in rural Illinois knew what he'd found. He'd been collecting coins for 40 years, never striking gold until that day. He pulled out his old coffee can full of pennies, the same one he'd been filling since the 1970s. And buried deep in the pile, darkened with age, was the coin that would change his life forever. When he brought it to a local dealer, they almost dismissed it. Just a 1976 penny, the dealer said. But something about the weight, slightly off, made him pause. A few calls later, and that penny was in the hands of the professional coin grading service. When the final results came back, it was official, a genuine, one-of-a-kind minting anomaly. The man's face turned pale. His humble penny was worth over $1.7 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News spread like wildfire. Articles popped up online. Collectors began tearing through their old jars, their dresser drawers, and their coin albums. Pawnshops couldn't keep up. Everyone wanted to know, could they have one too? Could lightning strike twice? Here's where things get even more fascinating. Not all 1976 pennies are valuable. In fact, 99.999% of them are worth just 1 cent. But the rare no mint mark version with the transitional planchet is a completely different beast. You'll need to look for 3 things. First, the color. It should have a slightly reddish tone that doesn't match ordinary copper pennies. Second, the weight. This error coin weighs just a bit less than usual. And third, the sound. Drop it gently on a hard surface and you'll hear a faint, higher-pitched ring that gives away its unique metal mix. Most people overlook these signs. They see 1976 and think nothing of it. But for those who know what to look for, that tiny difference can mean the difference between a penny and a fortune. Dealers have described this coin as the ghost of the mint because no records officially confirm its creation. It slipped through the cracks, struck during one of the busiest minting years in U.S. history. And that mystery only adds to its allure. The absence of a mint mark isn't just an error, it's a story frozen in metal, a mistake that now commands millions. And now, let's talk about the human side of this. Picture that Illinois collector. For years, he struggled to make ends meet, his coin hobby just a pastime to unwind after work. When he sold his 1976 penny at auction, the final hammer price hit 7 figures. The room went silent. He later said he could hardly breathe as the auctioneer's voice echoed through the hall. One penny, one decision to double-check his change had rewritten his family's future, and just when you think the story ends there, another twist surfaces. In 2019, a second coin with similar traits was rumored to appear at a private estate sale. But before it could be authenticated, it disappeared, sold off in a quiet, private deal. Some say it fetched nearly $1 million, others believe it's still out there, waiting to resurface. This mystery keeps collectors awake at night. Could there be more 1976 no-mint mark pennies out there, tucked away in coffee cans and coin jars? Experts think so. The original production numbers were massive, and if one slipped through, others might have too, but here's the catch: these coins aren't easy to identify. Many were struck slightly off-center or have faint die cracks that confuse beginners. Some collectors even clean them, unknowingly destroying the value. Never, ever polish or scrub a potentially rare coin. You could erase the very imperfections that make it priceless. Start with a magnifying glass. Look closely at the area below the date, there should be no mint mark at all. Then, test the weight. A genuine 1976 transitional penny will usually weigh between 3.08 and 3.10 grams. If it's within that range, your heart should start racing. Imagine standing in your kitchen, coin in hand, realizing you're holding something worth more than your house. That's the kind of story this coin creates. It's not just metal, it's history, luck, and destiny rolled into one. The coin market today is hotter than ever. Collectors are paying record prices, and stories like this inspire new hunters every day. Dealers are searching auctions, collectors are testing their coins, and new discoveries are surfacing every year. The next millionaire coin could come from your pocket, your basement, or your childhood coin collection. This isn't just about money, it's about possibility. It's about knowing that something as small as a penny could unlock a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. The thrill of the hunt. The joy of discovery. The idea that you could wake up tomorrow and find $1 million sitting in your change drawer. So tonight, before you empty your pockets, take a closer look. Pull out those 1976 pennies. Check for that missing mint mark, that slightly lighter weight, that unusual shine. Because while most people will pass it by without a second glance, you'll know better. A simple 1984 D Lincoln penny, yes, the kind you've probably ignored hundreds of times, shocked collectors when it sold for nearly $1.8 million. Not because it was made of gold, not because it was old, but because of one tiny, nearly invisible mistake. And what's even crazier? You could have one sitting in your pocket right now. It all started in Denver, 1984. The mint was running at full speed, producing billions of pennies for circulation. To most people, every one of them looked identical. Copper-colored, shiny when new, dull when old. But hidden among the ordinary was a mistake so rare that it would take decades to even notice. Imagine billions of coins rolling off the presses, and just one comes out with something different. Something extraordinary. The story really begins when a young coin collector, just a hobbyist, bought a bag of mixed pennies at a flea market for $5. He didn't expect much, just a fun weekend sorting through coins, hoping to find something interesting. But when he reached one particular 1984 penny with a tiny D under the date, something felt off. He couldn't explain it, but the details looked sharper, almost doubled. And that's when the discovery began. At first, he thought it was a trick of the light. But under magnification, it became clear Lincoln's ear looked doubled. It wasn't a smudge or a scratch. It was an actual doubled die. The design had been struck twice by the die at a microscopic offset, creating a distinct doubling effect around Lincoln's portrait. This was no ordinary error. This was a minting mistake that could make history. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to verify it. And soon, word spread like wildfire. The 1984 D double-ear penny was real, and it was incredibly rare. But here's where things get even more unbelievable. A few of these coins had already been circulating for decades, passed hand to hand, through gas stations, stores, even vending machines, and no one had noticed. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One pristine example of the 1984 D penny, found in near-perfect condition, went up for auction. Bidders went wild. It started small, a few thousand here, 10,000 there. But as word spread that this was one of the cleanest double die examples ever discovered, the numbers skyrocketed. Within hours, it broke six figures. Within minutes, it crossed into the unimaginable, more than $1 million for a single penny. Think about that for a moment. A coin that costs less than a stick of gum sold for $1.8 million. And yet, most people have probably tossed one of these into a jar, or dropped it under their car seat, never knowing what they had. The reason this particular coin is worth so much comes down to precision and rarity. During the minting process, a mechanical misalignment caused Lincoln's profile to be struck twice, but only slightly off. That doubling created an illusion, a second ear. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing. But to a collector, it's like spotting buried treasure in plain sight. But the real mystery is how so few of these coins survived. Out of billions made, only a handful are confirmed. Some experts believe there might be fewer than 50 in existence. Others think there could still be hundreds out there, hiding in collections, drawers, or change jars across America. And here's where it gets even more thrilling. Not every 1984 penny with a D mint mark is valuable, but the right one could change your life. You have to know exactly what to look for. That's the secret that separates a 1-cent coin from $1 million miracle. Under a magnifying glass, examine Lincoln's ear. On the valuable 1984 D version, you'll notice a clear doubling, almost like a shadow ear just beneath the main one. It's crisp, rounded, and part of the metal, not a scratch or damage. Look at the D mint mark too. It should be sharp and distinct, not smeared. Collectors who found one describe the feeling as pure electricity. Your heart races, your hands shake, and for a second, time stands still. Because you realize that you've been holding something extraordinary, something no one else noticed. But here's the thing most people miss. There are also 1984 pennies with machine doubling, a common, worthless form of doubling caused by vibrations in the press. That's not what you want. The true double die error shows raised, separate features, not flat or blurry ones. Get that wrong, and you might mistake a regular coin for a treasure, or worse, throw away a fortune. Now imagine this. You're cleaning out an old drawer. You find a handful of pennies you haven't looked at in years. You hold one up to the light, and suddenly, you see it, the doubled ear, the D mint mark, the subtle gleam of something special. Your pulse quickens. Could this be it? Could this be the one? That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about money. It's about history, luck, and discovery. Every coin tells a story. And sometimes, that story is worth more than you can imagine. One retired truck driver from Kansas discovered his 1984 D double die penny in an old coffee can he'd kept for decades. He'd saved his change for years, thinking maybe one day it'd be worth something. When he finally checked it, he almost fainted. That coin later sold for over $1 million at auction. His life changed overnight. Stories like his remind us that treasures don't always sparkle. Sometimes they're brown, dirty, and covered in fingerprints. But under the right light, they shine brighter than gold. Because it represents everything collectors dream about: rarity, beauty, and mystery. It's the kind of discovery that turns ordinary people into legends in the numismatic world. Every major collector wants one. Every auction house keeps an eye out. And every time a new 1984 D double die surfaces, it sends shockwaves through the community. But what happened next will surprise you again. After the first big sale, counterfeiters tried to replicate the error. Cheap knockoffs flooded the market. But experts caught on quickly. Genuine coins have clear doubling on the year and under specific lighting, show a distinctive texture that fakes can't reproduce. That's why, if you think you found one, never clean it. Never polish it. Cleaning can destroy its surface and cut its value by thousands. Instead, handle it gently by the edges, store it safely, and get it authenticated by a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. Only then will you know if you're holding a coin worth more than your car, your house, or maybe even your retirement fund. Collectors were stunned when more examples began surfacing. Each new discovery reignited the hunt. People began combing through old jars, searching change from stores, scanning rolls from banks. The excitement spread like wildfire. And you can still join that hunt right now, because the truth is, the mint produced so many pennies in 1984 that even after 40 years, there's still a chance one could turn up. You could be the next person to find it, the next lucky collector whose small discovery becomes $1 million story. Picture it, you open your palm, see that copper coin glinting under the light, and realize it's not just another penny. It's history. It's luck. It's opportunity wrapped in metal. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, look a little closer. Grab a magnifying glass. Check that 1984 penny with the D mint mark. Look closely at Lincoln's ear. Because that tiny detail could be the difference between a cent and $1.8 million, the beauty of this story isn't just in the coin, it's in the hope it represents. That no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, there might be a hidden treasure waiting for you. Maybe in your wallet. Maybe in your drawer. Maybe sitting unnoticed in a jar by the kitchen sink. Don't let it slip away. The 1984 D Lincoln penny taught us that even the smallest, most ordinary thing can hold unbelievable value if you know how to see it. A simple 2013 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, the kind you might hand over for a coffee or drop into your car's cup holder, became the centerpiece of one of the most unbelievable stories in modern coin collecting. Most people would have never looked twice at it. But one man did, and what he discovered shocked the entire coin world. It all started in the fall of 2013. Millions of pennies were rolling off the presses at the Philadelphia Mint, bright, shiny, and ordinary. Or so everyone thought. Hidden among the sea of copper-plated zinc were a few strange pieces, coins that didn't match the rest. They looked normal at first glance, but something about them was off. The color. The texture. The sound when dropped on a table. These weren't ordinary pennies. They were mistakes, the kind of minting errors that the mint never meant to release. One of these pennies found its way into circulation. A young collector from Ohio spotted it in his change after paying for a soda. It gleamed just a little differently, like it had a secret to tell. He could have ignored it, after all, who studies every penny they touch? But he felt something. A hunch. So he slipped it into his pocket and decided to look closer that night. What he found would send shockwaves through the collecting community. The first clue was the missing mint mark. Normally, coins struck in Philadelphia in 2013 carry a tiny P, the first year the mint added that letter to the Lincoln penny. But this one didn't. No P, no D, no S. Nothing. Just Lincoln's solemn face and a blank field where the mint mark should have been. Most people wouldn't think twice, but seasoned collectors knew what that could mean, a rare minting oversight that shouldn't exist. But that wasn't all. Under magnification, the coin revealed something even stranger. The date looked slightly misaligned, like it had been double-stamped. The edges were too smooth, and the plating was thinner than usual. These tiny imperfections pointed to one conclusion: a mint error, possibly struck from a damaged or mismatched die. And in the world of coins, that's the kind of mistake that can make a penny worth a fortune. When the collector sent the coin for authentication, experts at the grading service couldn't believe their eyes. They ran tests, magnified every angle, and finally confirmed it. This wasn't a fake, and it wasn't just any mint error. It was a legitimate 2013 no mint mark Lincoln penny, an ultra-rare survivor of a minting process that should have destroyed it. Word spread fast. Dealers called it a miracle coin. Collectors were stunned. Forums lit up with debate. How could this have happened in the era of computerized precision? Some said it was a 1 in a billion accident. Others whispered that it might have been an intentional release by a mint employee who recognized its value. Either way, it became one of the most sought-after modern Lincoln cents ever found. But what happened next stunned everyone. The coin went to auction, and bidders went wild. Within minutes, the price skyrocketed past 6 figures. Then 7. Finally, the gavel came down at just over $1 million. A single penny, worth $1 million. The collector's life changed overnight. From a pocket full of change to a fortune that could buy a house, a car, and a future. The answer lies in rarity, history, and timing. The Lincoln penny has been struck billions of times since 1909, but very few ever escape the mint with a flaw that goes unnoticed. When it happens, collectors scramble. Because these errors aren't just mistakes, they're stories, frozen in metal, pieces of history that were never meant to exist, and the 2013 no mint mark penny is one of the rarest of them all. Experts believe only a handful were struck before the error was caught and corrected. some say fewer than 5 still exist. That means somewhere, in the hands of an unsuspecting person, there could be another one sitting quietly in a change jar, waiting to be discovered, but there's more to this mystery. Some of these 2013 pennies have subtle differences that make all the difference in value. For example, certain coins show a weak strike on Lincoln's jacket, a missing designer's initial, or a faint doubling on the word Liberty. These clues could mean you're holding one of the rare error coins. If you find one, don't polish it, don't clean it, and don't spend it. Put it in a safe holder and get it graded. Dealers are paying top dollar for verified 2013 no-mint mark pennies. The market for modern error coins has exploded, with collectors eager to own a piece of the rarest series in circulation. A coin like this could easily fetch hundreds of thousands in private sales, and as history has shown, possibly up to $1 million. Think about that. $1 million from a coin most people overlook. The next time you empty your pockets or sort through an old coin jar, remember this story. Because the coin that changed one man's life forever could still be out there, and you could be the next person to find it. You're at a diner, paying for breakfast, and a penny catches your eye. You pick it up, notice something strange about it, and decide to keep it. Days later, you realize you're holding one of the rarest modern coins ever made. That's how fast a normal day can turn into a $1 million miracle. Collectors are searching high and low, studying every 2013 penny they can find, hoping lightning strikes twice. The key is in the details: no mint mark under the date, unusual shine, or signs of a double strike. If you spot these, get it checked. Even a faint minting error can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth a fortune. The coin world has its legends, and this one has already earned its place among them. The 2013 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, born from a mistake, lost in plain sight, and rediscovered as a treasure. It's proof that the smallest details can change everything, that the ordinary can hide the extraordinary. So tonight, when you count your change or go through that old coffee can of coins, look closer. Tilt each penny under the light. Check the year. Check for that missing P. Because lightning doesn't strike often, but when it does, it can strike in your hands. This isn't just about collecting coins. It's about the thrill of discovery, the hope that something small can have enormous value. It's about remembering that history lives in our pockets, and sometimes, it whispers to those who listen. The 2013 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a simple coin that defied the odds, changed a life, and continues to inspire treasure hunters across the country. A simple 1973 Lincoln penny, the kind that's been passed through countless hands, grocery stores, and piggy banks across America. But one of them, one rare, almost mythical penny, shocked the entire coin collecting world when its value skyrocketed beyond imagination. A penny, worth just 1 cent, suddenly turned into a life-changing fortune. It all began like a story no one believed. A man cleaning out his father's old tool chest in Denver stumbled across a small tin of coins, covered in dust, forgotten for decades. Inside was a 1973 Lincoln penny, dull, worn, ordinary-looking. But something about it caught his attention. The color looked slightly off, the weight felt unusual. He almost tossed it back. Instead, he took a closer look. And that's when his life changed forever, because this wasn't just any penny. It was one of the most mysterious and valuable errors ever minted by the U.S. Mint, a 1973 Lincoln cent that shouldn't have existed the way it did. Collectors were stunned when experts confirmed the find. The coin had been struck on a bronze planchet, a leftover from the early 70s when the mint was transitioning materials. Somehow, this old blank had slipped through the cracks at the Denver Mint, creating a one-of-a-kind hybrid. But that's not all. The D-Mint mark itself appeared slightly doubled, an oddity so rare that it made numismatists' hearts race. Dealers were rushing to verify the story. Rumors spread like wildfire through coin forums and auction houses. Could a 1973 penny really be worth over $1 million? Then came the moment no one expected. The coin went up for private auction. Bidding started small, a few $1,000s. But as the news spread, collectors and investors from around the world joined in. The price soared past $50,000, then $100,000, then $200,000. Finally, when the hammer fell, the crowd went silent. The final price? Over $1.1 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Experts began re-examining their own collections. If one 1973 penny like that existed, maybe more did. Suddenly, across the country, people were digging through old jars, searching through change drawers, hoping to find another hidden miracle, and that's what makes this coin so captivating. It's not just about the money. It's about the mystery. How could something so small, so ordinary, slip through one of the most tightly controlled production systems in the world? The US Mint produces billions of coins a year. Machines calibrated down to the millisecond. And yet, somehow, a simple mistake created a $1 million masterpiece. Collectors began studying every detail. The color, deeper, almost reddish bronze. The strike, unusually sharp for its time. The lettering, slightly shifted in certain examples, especially around the word liberty. The year 1973 itself bold, but with faint doubling along the edges. It's like lightning struck the same spot twice, and someone caught it in a coin. But there's something even more intriguing about the 1973 D Lincoln penny. Many of the rarest examples were found in circulated condition, meaning they were actually used, jingling in pockets, sliding through vending machines, passed from one person to another without anyone realizing what they were holding. Imagine that, $1 million coin buying a cup of coffee. One collector even recalled getting a strange penny in his change back in the 1980s. He noticed the weight felt slightly heavier, but he didn't think twice. He spent it the next day. Years later, when he saw a news headline about the $1 million penny, his heart sank. Could that have been the one? He'll never know, and here's where it gets truly suspenseful. Experts believe there may still be a few of these error pennies hiding out there, tucked in old coin jars, resting in boxes under beds, or lying forgotten in dusty drawers, but identifying one requires a sharp eye. You see, the 1973 D Lincoln penny is mostly made of copper, but the error versions were struck on bronze or with alloy inconsistencies that give off a slightly different tone. The easiest way to start checking? Look at the color. A deeper reddish hue may signal something special. Next, feel the weight. An authentic 1973 D penny should weigh around 3.11 grams, but some rare variations weigh slightly more due to the leftover bronze planchet. Another clue lies in the mint mark. On the rare ones, the D is not perfectly aligned. Sometimes it appears faintly doubled, or slightly higher than usual. Under magnification, you might notice tiny imperfections around Lincoln's shoulder or the rim, telltale signs of a misaligned die or older press machinery, but this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. It's easy to think, that could never happen to me. But the man who found that $1 million penny said the same thing. He wasn't a collector, not even a hobbyist. He was just cleaning out an old box. Luck, fate, or maybe destiny, call it what you want, but that coin turned his life around overnight. Now, let's talk about the deeper side of this story, the why. Why do collectors pay so much for coins like this? It's not just about metal or age. It's about history. Each coin carries a story of a moment in time, a human error, or a mystery that slipped through the mint's fingers. For the 1973 D penny, that story represents resilience. It's a reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked things can hold enormous value. And that resonates with people, especially those who believe in hidden potential, in second chances, in forgotten treasures waiting to be rediscovered. And here's where the inspiration truly hits home. Somewhere in America right now, a 1973 D penny might be sitting unnoticed in a coffee can, a dresser drawer, a coin jar that's been collecting dust for decades. It could belong to you, your parents, or your grandparents. One simple coin, worth over $1 million, waiting to be found. Collectors are still out there searching, scanning every coin with magnifying lenses, weighing them carefully, hoping to catch lightning in a penny once more. Some call it obsession. Others call it hope. But for those who've held a rare coin in their hands, it's pure electricity, that heart-racing moment when you realize you're touching history and fortune all at once. And here's the lesson to take with you. When you look through your change, pay attention. Check the year, 1973. Look for that D mint mark just below the date. Notice the color, the weight, the details. Because what looks like an ordinary penny could be the one coin that changes your life. People have thrown these away. Spent them. Lost them. But the smart ones know better. Every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth more than gold. So next time you hear that familiar clink of change hitting your hand, listen closely. It could be history calling your name. Yes, a simple 2016 D mint mark Lincoln penny, something you might have handed to a cashier without thinking twice, has changed the life of one lucky collector forever. This is no ordinary penny. It's a modern treasure, a piece of copper-plated history hiding in plain sight, and tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most mysterious coins in recent American history. It all began like any normal day. A man from Colorado stopped at a gas station, paid for his coffee with some loose change, and pocketed a few coins in return. Days later, while cleaning his desk, one penny caught his eye. It wasn't shiny or special, in fact, it looked a little odd. But something about the color, the texture, felt different. What he didn't realize then was that he was holding one of the rarest 2016 D. Lincoln pennies ever struck, a coin now valued at up to $1.2 million. Collectors were stunned when the story broke. How could a modern penny, minted less than a decade ago, be worth that kind of money? The answer lies deep inside the walls of the Denver Mint and in a mistake so subtle that even seasoned coin experts missed it at first glance. You see, 2016 was supposed to be a routine year for the Lincoln cent. Billions of pennies rolled off the presses. But somewhere in that massive production run, something went wrong. A die, the metal stamp that imprints the coin, developed a microscopic flaw. It struck a handful of coins with an error so unique, it turned a 1-cent piece into a millionaire maker. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A small group of collectors started reporting pennies with unusual doubling on Lincoln's profile, especially around the eye, ear, and lettering. Some noticed a warped rim or uneven strike. Others found coins with off-metal composition, pennies that didn't match the usual zinc core or copper plating. These weren't damaged coins. They were minting anomalies, accidents of perfection. And when one of them surfaced at auction, the bids exploded. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. Phone lines flooded. Emails poured in. The winning bid crossed the $1 million mark faster than anyone expected. And just like that, the 2016 D. Lincoln penny joined the ranks of legendary modern rarities. But here's the part most people don't know. Not every valuable 2016 D penny looks the same. Some carry a faint demint mark that appears slightly tilted or doubled. Others have a noticeable die crack near Lincoln's shoulder or on the reverse side near the Union shield. To the untrained eye, they might look like damage. To a collector, they scream opportunity. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle because he paid attention. He didn't overlook the small details, the slightly thicker lettering, the odd color tone, the faint ghosting on the edges. Those tiny details made the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. But there's more to this story than just luck. The Lincoln penny series has a history of surprising the world with valuable mistakes. From the 1955 doubled die to the 1992 close AM and 1983 copper transitional errors, each generation has had its hidden gem. And now, the 2016 D is the modern torchbearer of that legacy. What makes this coin so fascinating isn't just its rarity, it's how easily it hides. You don't need to dig through ancient rolls or buy expensive collector sets. This coin could be sitting in your car's cup holder right now, blending in with the rest of your change. And that's what makes it so thrilling. Collectors describe the moment of finding one as electric. Your heart skips a beat. Your hands shake. Because in that instant, you realize what you've uncovered. A tiny, forgotten piece of American minting history that could change your life. Closely at the obverse, the side with Lincoln's portrait. Under a magnifying glass, inspect the mint mark, the small d just below the year 2016. On the rare $1 million version, you may notice slight doubling or distortion. Then check the texture of the metal. Some error coins have a satin-like finish or a weight slightly heavier than a normal zinc penny. If you own a scale, weigh it. A standard 2016 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams. If yours tips the scale closer to 3.1, you could be holding a rare transitional copper strike, the very type collectors are chasing. And don't forget the reverse. The Union shield design should have clean, sharp lines. On some of the error coins, the shield appears slightly misaligned, or the E pluribus unum motto shows doubling. These are the details that separate an ordinary penny from $1 million one. Now, imagine this. You're sorting through a jar of change, maybe the same one you've ignored for years. You pick up a dull-looking 2016 D penny, about to toss it aside, but something catches your eye. The color is richer, the lettering just a touch different. You lean in, take a closer look, and your pulse quickens. Because you've seen this video, you know what to look for. You might be staring at your ticket to financial freedom. It's stories like these that remind us treasures don't always come in gold or silver. Sometimes, they come disguised as the smallest coin in your pocket. Every year, thousands of people unknowingly spend rare pennies worth small fortunes. But the ones who know what to look for, the patient, the curious, the dreamers, they're the ones who win big. The man who discovered the first $1 million 2016 D penny didn't have fancy equipment or years of experience. He had curiosity. And that's all it takes. He found it, verified it, and sold it, transforming 1 cent into over $1 million, and that brings us back to you. The next great discovery could be yours. All it takes is one moment, one coin, one decision to look closer. Check your change, your drawers, your old jars and wallets. The rarest treasures often hide in the most ordinary places, because right now, as you watch this, there are only a handful of known 2016 D-era pennies in existence, and experts believe more are still out there. Every collector, every treasure hunter in America is hoping to find one. The question is, will it be you? So tonight, before you spend that penny, take a second look. It might not just be change, it could be the change that changes your life.